people who meet you, they say, "Hey, Alex, you are a Russian boy.
Yep.
Stop kidding. Speak Russian."
Yep, people often speak to me. They come up to me and speak in Russian. "Oh, where is Russia? I got to talk to my parents tonight about this. I don't know anything about Russia."
To look at the map.
To look at the map. And
Did you have mother yourself?
no, she was in an orphanage throughout her life. She didn't know her parents. Okay.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Diana.
I'm so glad you've come to Moscow again. I'm very happy to see you.
It's nice to be here.
And today I have some questions to you about your life, your family, and about New Zealand as well. So are you ready to answer these questions?
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You are adopted boy, yeah? And what is the story of your adoptive family?
Well, I was born in Arkhangelsk on the 1st of April 1992, and my New Zealand parents came over and adopted me from the regional orphanage when I was 2 years old and brought me back to New Zealand along with my brother Andre, who was also from Arkhangelsk.
Okay, and why did they decide to go especially to Russia?
In the 1990s, it was very common for families from New Zealand to adopt from Russia. It was a big thing. There's 700 plus children that were adopted from Russia in the 1990s in New Zealand alone. And my parents had some friends who had already adopted from Russia, and it was an interest to them and it was an option because my parents weren't able to have children themselves. And so they looked at Russia because the adoption agency then, when they were facilitating adoptions, they provided the full process from the start to the end to adopt a child. So it made it a lot easier for New Zealand parents.
So for them it was a quite comfortable process to come to Russia?
It was a huge process, but it was one that was actually an easy route for them.
And why Arkhangelsk? How did it work?
Well, the adoption agency in New Zealand focused in particular in the orphanage in Arkhangelsk. I don't know exactly why, but New Zealand in Auckland alone and Whangarei, Northland, they focused on working with this orphanage. So they might have had some good contact, some communication. Maybe they only facilitated to New Zealand families back then. I'm not sure, but a lot of New Zealand's adoptees have come from Arkhangelsk.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't remember your early years, do you?
No,
Nothing.
I don't remember anything. My first memory would definitely be first Christmas in New Zealand or third birthday. That would be the earliest memory. Before that, it was just, there's nothing there. I just don't remember anything.
How old were you? Do you remember, were you impressed by New Zealand and what things did you like mostly?
Growing up in the small town of Whangarei, up above Auckland, 2 hours north of Auckland, I grew up adjusting to my family life quite easy. I didn't know too much about where I come from until I grew up a little bit older and I started to learn about it more and understand it a lot more. It was very early, being a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, I would have no idea anything about Russia, but growing up I was able to learn a lot about where I come from, and to me I was very proud of that. My parents showed us everything in Russian books. We had Russian dolls everywhere in the house, and my parents always said to me, yes, you live here, we're raising you, we're your parents, but you also have this background of Russia, so we're a Russian family and a New Zealand family, and to me I was quite proud of that.
And where did they get all these things? Russian toys, Russian books?
When they left Russia in 1994 and came to New Zealand, there was a huge amount of things they brought back. My dad was filming everything on a little camcorder, and he filmed every day in the orphanage and out on the streets because they were so fascinated about the country. It had just left the Soviet Union. It was an open country now. In 1994, it was just open to international people. And my parents thought, well, of course, Russia's a long way to go, and it's, I don't know anything about Russia. Should we go there? We're not sure, but they did, and they were very happy. They loved it. They think it's a great country.
Did you study Russian as well as a child?
When I was a child, this is the thing where I do regret I didn't study Russian. When I was growing up, I wanted to focus on just English. I wanted to stick with my Kiwi culture. I didn't really have a huge interest in the Russian culture growing up. However, I was interested in where I come from, but I didn't really have an interest in learning the language. I was probably too busy focusing on my school or everything like that. But growing up, that changed, and I started to get a big interest in learning a little bit of Russian here and there, learning the alphabet, and I regret to myself, biggest regret is definitely not focusing on the language as a child, because I really wished I did.
A lot of people who meet you, they say, "Hey, Alex, you are a Russian boy.
Yep.
Stop kidding, speak Russian."
Yep, people often speak to me, they come up to me and speak in Russian, and I'm just like, "Я не говорю по-русски, пожалуйста." Спасибо. And they say, okay, well, hello, how are you? And they say, you look so Russian. How come you don't speak Russian? I don't understand. Especially when I'm with my birth parents, people often question it. They say, how is this person related to this person, your father? How does he have a Russian passport? How come he doesn't speak the language? And it's always a story you have to start from the beginning to the end to explain the whole situation.
Yeah, but that's why we go back to New Zealand.
That's why we go back to New Zealand, yeah.
Okay. And you studied at several schools, as far as I remember.
Yes.
How did you like your school years?
I think I had a pretty normal school, pretty normal time in school. It all seemed pretty normal to me as a child. I was in classrooms with my brother, though, in some of the classes. And
you went together?
Yeah, we went together, and people would often question, how are you twins? No, we're not. We're 3 months apart. But people would often question my name, Sasha. I was called Sasha all throughout until I was 14 years old. And people would say, where does your name come from? How come you look like your brother, but he's not your age? And it was always, I guess that was the only questions that we were ever asked. But it was okay. I was happy to talk about it. I said, look, I came from right at the top of Russia in 1994. I don't know, I've never been back, but I know it's a big country. It's the biggest country in the world by land. And people would go, wow, that's amazing. All the other children, they had no idea. They would say, oh, where is Russia? I got to talk to my parents tonight about this. I don't know anything about Russia.
To look at the map.
To look at the map. And then obviously it's like the next day they would come into school again, and they would often say, okay, we looked at the map last night, but the country is so big, I couldn't find where you come from. Say, okay, I understand. But it was an interest by my school friends. And in school, the teachers would often ask me, where is Sasha? Why is your name Sasha? And you'd have to explain it. And
because it's a girl name in New Zealand.
It's a girl's name in New Zealand. But now, that was the late 90s and the early 2000s. Now it's not a big deal. But back then it was always often, how come your name's Sasha? What's going on? Andre was my brother. Where does Andre come from? Sasha and Andre, there's something going on here. And it would always have to be a lot of explaining.
If you make something wrong, some mistakes, you are fool.
No.
You are empty head.
No.
You understand nothing.
No, never.
Never?
No.
Did they cry?
The kids?
No, the teacher.
No, they never cried.
Really?
No. I never went through that. Their teachers never ever said anything bad to us. They would, if in a nice way, they would say to you, look, you need to focus on this more than the other thing. That would be it. They would never say, you're such a bad child. What am I doing? The crazy kids. No, they don't talk like that to the kids. They talk to the parents. They have parent talks with parents, and they say, look, your child needs help with this. We can provide more of this. We can put them in a different class. Let's focus on that they are struggling with. But they never say anything that's going to offend the child. The kids need to feel comfortable.
I see.
Yeah.
I'm dreaming of New Zealand schools here in Russia. In fact, we have a lot of problems because of communications between children, teachers. It's very difficult, unfortunately. Were you happy as a child?
I was definitely happy as a child. Yeah, I had a great childhood.
And what was happiness for you when you were small?
Happiness for me was learning a lot from school, fascinated about the world, coming home to see my mum and dad,
So your family.
Family was important. I mean, it is important.
Why? Why did you decide you should do it? Find your birth parents.
Because growing up, I had a great childhood, great parents, great mum and dad, but there was always something that was missing in the back of all of this.
How did you feel it?
It was just learning about Russia growing up more and more. It became more of an interest to me, and to me, it was a very important thing for me because this is where I was born. I knew nothing of Russia. I didn't know even when I was 18 years old, knew nothing of Russia. But the more I grew up, the more I was so interested in where I come from and about finding my birth parents in regards because I was so curious to know who they were. I wanted to meet somebody who looked like me. I wanted to see what their genetics are like. I wanted to learn about their life. And it's not always, I wasn't chasing that for mum and dad. They're not my mum and dad here. They are my birth parents.
In Russia, they often say it's a betrayal to your adoptive parents if you want to find your birth parents. What do you think about it, and how did your adoptive parents get this news? You want to go to Russia and find your mother, your father?
You'll be very surprised. They were very supportive. They said, in fact, they said, if both of you, my brother and I, if both of you meet your birth parents, it would make our life. It would complete our family. And to me, it seemed a bit crazy to me at first. I thought this is like they want me to go and meet them as soon as I can. And they did, because they said that it's part of who you are. It's your birth parents. We raised you, we're your parents, but we're not the ones that brought you into the world. Your birth parents are. And for anybody, I've always thought to myself, it's a very big thing for me to know where I come from, exactly where I was born. I spent the first 2 years of my life in an orphanage. I want to learn about this orphanage. I want to know how everything began, why I was there, why did this happen, why was I adopted. It was all questions I was always questioning and asking my parents about this as well. And they just said to me, we can't have children. We couldn't have children in the 90s. We tried and tried. We had friends that adopted from Russia, and we wanted to start a family. And so we looking at Russia to adopt, and this is what path we took. And they said to me, it's the best decision we ever made in our life. It changed our life, and we changed your life. And I said, that makes sense.
Do you think they were also interested to find and to see your birth parents, or they were just supporting you?
They were supporting me, but in the beginning, I realized they said to me, I want you to go to Russia by yourself and see them first. Go and get yourself exposed into the culture. Get yourself into the country that you come from and learn about it first. They said, we want to meet your birth parents. They said, we definitely want to. We want to get you to get some closure first, meet them, be comfortable with them first, get to know them. We don't want to be tagging along with you all the way when you're first meeting your birth parents. That's your own personal background, that's your story, that's something that you would like to do. But they said later on, it would make our life if we can meet your birth parents. We would like to get to know them. We'd like to contact them as well, because we would like to thank them. You know, they brought you into the world, and they made part of our family. This is who we are. And it was always, to me, that was always something that I just can't comprehend and say thanks enough for that. So it's a nice thing.
So you did it. You found your birth parents, your mother.
Yeah, that's
who
right.
Gave birth to you, your father. Do you think now you have two families? Is that true?
I wouldn't say two families. I would say a bigger family. I would look at it as a. Well, of course, I got a Russian family and a New Zealand family, but I always look at it as, it's like tracing back your family tree or relatives. It's like, I have a biological parents, and they're part of our family. Our family is bigger. We have that missing connection that we've never understood, and now we know this connection. So that's how I look at it. That's how I've always looked at it. I've always wanted to trace them and find them, because it's always been that closed door that I've never been able to open until I was 21, when I found my birth parents, and now all these mysteries are solved. I've met my birth mother, birth father, and knowing who they are has been it's been great.
Did you have some comfort after you've done
Definitely.
it? Yeah?
I remember the first time meeting my birth mother, despite of how she was or how her life is. She's had a hard life, and I realized, she was ashamed, she was shy. It still was the best thing, because I felt a big, huge sense of closure and relief at the same time, knowing that. Growing up as a child, I've always wondered, on my birthdays, do my birth parents know it's my birthday today? Questions like this. I wonder if they wonder where I am, or is this day really hard for them because I'm not around? In respect to that, I wanted to tell my birth parents that it's okay. I'm with this family in New Zealand now. This is the connection I have, and as long as we can grow a connection now, take away the past is the past. As long as we can focus on the present.
Just from the very beginning.
From the very beginning, it's about rebuilding, not worrying about the past and who cares what happened all those years ago. My birth father had no idea I even was born. So could you imagine, he was quite upset when I reached out to him for the first time. But he looks at it now as, he said to me the other day, he said, I'm so proud that you have a beautiful family in New Zealand that raised you, and he said to me, as long as I'm part of your life, I'm happy about that. Thank you for it, bringing me into your life. And I said, no problem. It's okay. This is what I wanted. And he said, I couldn't think of anything better. And he always asks about my parents. He says, how's your mum and dad? How's your parents? Hello to them. And it's just great to have that ongoing.
After you did it, you found your father, your birth mother. Do you still love your adoptive parents?
Of course. And
Has
100%.
something changed?
They're the best parents I could ever ask for. Love my mum and dad to pieces. So.
And what do you feel to your birth father, for example?
I honestly could say, he's a really close person to me. Of course, I love his family. I love him. It's same.
Is it the same love, or is it the other feeling?
It's not the same.
Okay.
The dad love is my dad back home in New Zealand, and same with my mum. They're my mum and dad because they're the ones that raised me. To him, I can't describe it. It's like that person that in the past that you haven't seen in 20 or so years, and them being directly related to you, and you growing a relationship. It's a different type of love. It's like I can't explain it. It's harder to explain that one.
I understand. And birth mother, just the same thing, very difficult feeling.
Yeah, it's hard with her.
Even harder.
It's difficult, yeah.
Difficult.
The connection there isn't as strong as my birth father by a lot. Mm-hmm. It's a lot less, but I don't blame her for that. So she's had a hard life, and her life has always been difficult, and I don't judge her for any of that. I always wish that I was able to I always wish that I could have constant contact with her, but not everything is going to be at your fingertips. It's not always going to be the way you want it, and that's the way life is.
Did you have mother herself?
No, she was in an orphanage throughout her life. She didn't know her parents. And when she was 18, she left the orphanage and started working in a factory, and she just has always struggled since then. She thought it was the right thing to do, to put me into an orphanage. She thought, right, this is the normal thing. I was in an orphanage. I can't look after this child. As you remember, she said, I can't do it.
She really can't, because she wasn't taught. She
didn't learn about that.
Yeah.
About raising a child. And when I met her 6 years ago, I said to her, everything's okay, Tatiana. You need to understand that everything's fine. Because she kept on saying to me, I'm so sorry, I won't do this again. I said to her, Tatiana, look, it was 1992.
Yeah.
Life was hard, and you didn't know, you were so young. I don't blame you for that. She really
wasn't able, because she also had this love.
Yeah,
this connection
she
to
didn't
her
have
mother, her father.
She didn't have that.
I understand this.
So I always say to her, I say, don't blame yourself for anything. It's okay. I was raised in a beautiful family. I'm thanking everyone around me for the situation I was placed in. The decision my parents made I don't want to sound bad, but it made up for that she knew that she was putting me into the right direction. It was suited for me. I was made to go into the orphanage, if you know what I mean, for the first 2 years of my life until I was adopted. Of course, we want to be adopted as early as we can because we want to be in a family. She made the right decision. I feel she did. And I never say anything bad about that. That's her decision. And who knows what my life could be like if I was with her.
Can a child in the orphanage be happy without a family?
I always say a child should be adopted into a family and have a mum and dad raised. The child needs to be in a family that loves the child very much. That's very important. I don't believe that a child should be in an orphanage for a long time because they're getting taken care of just by caregivers, and it's not a true family. I always say to myself, as much as I love what the orphanages are trying to do, they need to be adopted as early as they can into a family that can raise them and give them the right education and give them a head start in their life.
Do you have orphanages in New Zealand for the present?
We have no orphanages, no.
How does it work? For example, some parents can die, or some parents can go to alcoholic or something like that, and children have no parents anymore. What the government does to solve the problem?
So our social services, our organisation that helps with children and families in New Zealand, they have a foster care system. Mm-hmm. So for children that do have parents that are alcoholics or who have passed away, they would place the child into another family similar to an orphanage system.
So it's a professional family.
It's a professional family.
Mm-hmm. And they are always ready to get some child, anytime.
Yeah. Every child in the world should have the right to feel protected, have a loving family, and feel safe. And that's very important.
Yeah, right. And that is impossible without any family. That's why a child should be adopted. Yeah?
Exactly.
Or have his own family. So now the new year is coming,
yes.
And it's a big holiday for Russian people, and it's a family holiday. We always gather, all children, parents, have big table. Again, is it difficult to choose where to meet this holiday if you have one part of family in New Zealand and the other in Russia?
Well, this year I will be in St. Petersburg for New Year's, first time that I've ever had.
This will be your first New Year in Russia. Great.
And the thing I said to my parents is to end the decade, because this decade has changed my life. Because I came to meet my birth parents, I want to spend it in Russia and experience the Russian New Year. On Christmas Day is our 25th of December. I will be with my family in New Zealand.
Okay.
Boxing Day, I fly to Russia.
So you found
I've planned it out quite well. And my parents were saying, this is awesome. You go and enjoy it. You have fun. And I want to immerse myself more in the language as well. Why I'm here again. So for the 3 weeks, I will be in Russia. And I keep promising myself I want to be around the Russian language and the culture more so I can practice more, learn about it more, and see what this whole New Year tradition is all about.
Yeah.
Then in Russia, and that's when everyone was complaining about the snow. They're saying it's snowing today, it's horrible. I said I love the snow.
And you were happy.
I loved it.
I remember you made photos of it.
I made
photos. You made video.
And you were saying, why are you crazy? You're crazy.
Yeah, right.
So it's snowing.
Okay.
We don't like the snow so much, but I say I love the snow. And it's just a different mindset.
Do you like Russian meal? Ты любишь русскую еду?
Да, борщ.
Борщ
Shashlik.
What can you wish to all Russian people for the new year?
What do I wish for the Russian people for the new year? Love your family, be together, have good friends, and have a good time. And respect each other. That's what I...
And make your children safe.
Make your children safe.
And protected.
Protected, yep, definitely. And be together as a family.